Hey, Vicky, Crystal, and Mr. Edward. So we're just doing a wonderful discussion, but I just feel that there's a lot of us that are going through these things in life, and when we explain them, because I can hear somebody else talking about, it, I'm like, that's why I'm going through this, because sometimes you just don't know, and you don't know how big it is, and then when you step back, me and Edward were talking about when you step away. That's been big for me this year to just allow myself to step away. And I want to bring something that it sounds so silly, but it hit me so big. Um, because I channel. Well, I never, and Edward used to say to me, well, talk to your guides. I never felt worthy of talking to the channel myself for my own personal problems.
Yeah, I can't remember
I never felt worthy. I felt like it was a gift to me to give to you. And that's just nonsense, is with the big old smile. It's just nonsense. Things we make up about
that.
ourselves, things, the things is that I've literally had to step back because I didn't want to, I had to evolve and I had to grow and I had to expand, and no matter what that looked like for anybody. And I know that we're all probably going through that in a different way. And Edward, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely had to do that. If I'm looking at like even like friend circles and like we're moving out of the city and stuff, and in some ways it seems like that you're moving it in some ways a step backward, but
Yeah,
then other ways you're just like grounded so much deeper into
yeah,
like so many different layers, like the cycles of nature, you know, what your dreams or your desire, your deepest heart desires really are. Um, it's the little things, isn't it, that sort of I think ground you in.
yes.
Um, for me, like I noticed it. I've just been sick, and I noticed it when I was sick. And one of the things I really wanted to do over the years was like learn more about like herbal medicines, like the little thing. And I thought I don't know much about that. But then when you get sick, it's like actually I've got this elderberry syrup that I made. I was just run out, but we've been using that all winter. I had learned how to forage a little bit. I had some wild garlic that we just made some pesto, which is really nice to have all that sort of. Had some like honey fermented garlic, which is another really good one.
Wow.
Like teas and stuff we'd foraged. It's pretty intense, but I was like, it's so nice to have all those things. And even if they don't make a huge difference, it's just like, there's something that anything that you can do, right? It makes you feel
Yes.
better. Like at least you're doing something that is helping to move it along. Sometimes it's just the practice of making the tea or
As you're
herbs
talking,
outside.
it's like I can see the threads of weaving light. It's so crazy. Like I can see it, and like when we're consuming the tea, we're first preparing the tea. We grow the tea, we cut the tea, we prepare the tea, and then we nurture the tea. It's all connection. Like when you
Yeah,
were saying
exactly.
all that, I could see the threads of light.
Like one of the best things for me that's happened like in the last couple of years, it's happened 2 years now. But Leo, who's my son, who's 5 now, has gone outside at this time of year when it's spring, and he's picked this. It's a little purple sort of flower called dead nettle, and we
Oh,
had it growing all over our lawn one year. And so I didn't really know anything about it. I knew it was a type of nettle, and then I learned that it's really good antibacterial, antifungal. And so we made like a salve out of it. And this year, even like, I hadn't even seen that one had come up yet. And he's picked a little handful of them. And I was just like, oh yeah, that actually, it was that little thing just made me like, I've, doing something right here. This is what's valuable. But he
absolutely.
now knows that. And he's been making tea today with the clover, which is just from the lawn, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere special. It's just from the lawn that I let grow a little bit longer than most people do
Yeah.
at the springtime, and we just pick them, and you
Yes.
just learn what's there. It's like it's
Absolutely.
already most of it's just already under our noses. It's just bringing that little bit extra awareness, right? And that adds up, and it's like I'm just using that as an example because you start to see how these little things all over the world add up, and then it's like, oh, you've got
Yeah.
that instead of going to the store and buying some medicine that usually has some other things in there. and not that great
Absolutely.
for you in the long term.
Absolutely. And you
And
know
you get
what's,
that good feeling about like, I've done this, I've connected with the land is healing with me. You have the connection, which is, yeah, I think
I want to
I
share
feel
that.
like I really see that now. I get a slight feeling of like the tip of the iceberg, but I feel like in years to come, we'll be like, oh, that is, I
Yes.
can see the, like you were describing.
And you know what? And the other aspect of that, because I too, we had talked about this a long time ago. I too, 1 year, only 1 year did I have of abundance of nettle. And it's the same time he was talking about. And I had it all over my yard and I have not had it back. And when
Mm.
you were saying that, whatever we need in our bodies, and then I
Mm,
see the light when you were talking, it comes to us.
it does.
It comes and then it grows in our yard. And my daughter went over and she was like, "Mom, your yard looks so beautiful. I have not cut it. I want." And my new son-in-law said, "Why didn't you cut it?" I said, "There's life in there.
Yeah.
It's growing, and I'm not going to cut it." And the only thing is that when you don't cut it, then you have a bigger job. But to me,
Do.
it's worth it to.
And it's so worth experimenting as well in just talking
Yes,
about the lawn because I
yeah,
noticed there's some patches that I didn't cut and they then had amazing wildflowers.
yes,
I never put any seeds down
yeah,
for that year, but then I left them another year and there weren't many wildflowers. But
yeah,
then I cut it again and they came back. So it's like because obviously normally you have something that's keeps it to a certain length. So it's like
yes.
yes, it's so interesting how there's a sort of it's a subtle tending to the garden. It doesn't mean more work. It actually generally usually means less work when you just become
Yeah,
a little bit more intuitive to yeah, to just
I get
I,
that. As
yeah,
you said it, I get it like right now. Wow, how beautiful.
yeah, it's nice to see the garden sort of this time of year. It's really starting to come alive. It's such good medicine. Little things.
Absolutely. But I don't know. You had said that you have noticed, or I don't want to put because I can't kind of grasp what you're saying. But for me, my dreams have been. I have been connecting to other versions of myself, and I've been bringing back stuff. And it's weird that I say bringing back. It feels like a stepping over
In your dreams.
in my dreams, and I can remember bits and pieces of it. Um, but like I will do something that I recognize, oh, I've never done that before, but then I can see it connect differently. But like the way I'm seeing, it's like it's so crazy. I'm watching this show, and I was connected into it when I watched it the last couple of years, and it's called the Wheel. I can't think of it right now.
Wheel of Time.
Yes, the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I haven't watched that, but I've seen it and I'm always
Yeah.
curious.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's so good. It does have a lot of violence, but if you see the bigger picture of it, but the anything, but this is how I see my energy. Like I feel the energy, and you can see it in the Wheel of Time. You can see the energy coming from their hands, and that's how I'm seeing it. But I'm seeing it. I want to
Yeah.
say as an emotion, kind of
Uh-huh.
like I can, like I do. I see it like an emotion, like the way it makes me
In
feel.
the dream.
No, this is how I'm starting to see light. Like,
Interesting.
and like right now, when you were talking, I was just allowing myself to tap in. Like I could see all that weaving of fabric.
I see it interesting how I see it. Like when I'm really clear,
Yeah,
this is not in like medicine space or ceremony space, but when I'm really clear and if it's like a high energy day and
yeah,
it's sunny, I see like little, it's almost
freckles.
like sparkles.
Yes,
Like sparkles, like almost like particles in the air sparkling.
yes.
Like you would, and then I know like, oh, that's the sort of light energy coming down. And then
Wow.
I sort of I feel it though. I
Yes,
kind of see it, but not. It's weird, like because I don't see it necessarily like an eye would see it. It's more like I see it with my feeling.
exactly. That is so perfect.
Yeah. So
It's
I don't see it like I say when I see those sparkles, I see them with my eye, right? They're sparkling.
yes,
Or like if I see like something in a dream, I see it like with my third eye, I'm seeing it with my eye.
Yes.
But when I see energy, like if I go like that,
Yes.
I kind of like it's more like, oh, I can feel like when I'm moving my arms, and especially if I'm in like a really centered, balanced place, not not with lots of thoughts, then I'm like, oh wow, yeah, this really moves the energy. Like
No, like
I, in ceremony, I'd often like just bring down like I just at the start, I often just call to like I just want to bring something. I don't know really what I'm doing because I'm not thinking about it, and I haven't got to that level. I'm just like, oh, I'm sort of just inviting energies down, and then I know like that really, it's like
you could feel
sort of
it.
like turning up the volume, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Just as you were talking, doing this, I could feel your energy. Uh, you were bringing in. I could feel the energy moving. It's more palatable in my life. I want to say that it's more. I could feel it before, but it feels like all the sensories are together, and I see it, but not in like it's. I can't. It's like a vision, over
yeah,
a vision. You know what I mean? Uh,
yeah, like an overlay.
yeah, it's yeah, absolutely. That is the perfect word, and but it doesn't distort one. You know how you
Yeah.
like it would distort? It doesn't. It just, I don't know, adds.
There's so many different layers of it, aren't there? Because then
Yeah.
also when I'm really clean, like if I had like a clean diet and
See, and I've been got food has really been hurting my body lately. And I notice that whenever I eat anything, that I got this overwhelming sense of like pain shooting down my legs. It was weird how I'm feeling the eating something and I could feel it in my legs. And then I then I was driving and it was so crazy. I was driving and I was like, I've drove this road for 9 years. Some days for the last, 4 or 5 months, I've been driving it every day. And there's a church that just shows up like an older church. I was like, I've never seen that before. Well, over by the church, they're putting up a 5G tower.
mm,
Yeah. And I was feeling into the energy of that, and I said, "Is that affecting me?" And then I seen that thing this morning. Like I asked that, "Is that 5G affecting me?" And then did you see the thing I put on my Facebook about they're putting the position of 5G into the flower of life. It's all shaped into the flower of life. It's a grid that actually overlays ours, but we break through it. But
I
it's
haven't
like,
seen that. No,
yeah,
I haven't
but
seen it.
it's like an artificial grid
Yeah,
that Verizon and everybody's doing, but it affects our body. So yeah, beautiful to watch
interesting.
it. It's him asking AI. And then the videos I did the other day, it was like crazy. The videos I did the other day.
You know that there's all that fear on the AI, but it feels like it's going to be such an ally. I really feel
Yeah,
it. Like it's like, yeah, it's so interesting.
it's so interesting. And then
It's like almost as like what you see it as is what it's going to be,
exactly,
right? Like if you see it in
exactly.
its highest, which is what sort of it's all about, isn't it? All life is like that. If you see people in their
Yeah.
highest,
Wherever you're at, that's what you're
yeah.
gonna pull back to you. Which is beautiful. I went on every layers of that, thank God, and it lets you show you how far you come. And then once in a while, those little, heavy energies pull back into my life, and then
Mm,
like without even words, they see my light.
mm,
Because sometimes I've had them say, "Just being around you makes me feel better."
yeah.
And
Well, that's because like if you think about it, and like as us as a larger organism,
yeah.
it's not like you rise to the a level that then you never have any darkness around you because otherwise you're not serving the whole organism.
Absolutely. No, we're still on. That was one of the videos that came through the healing that I just put up, is that we're all on the same level. And
Yeah,
we're doing every part to every part. That's what I
yeah.
see through the healing. And so, but the thing is that it's not affecting my body. That's what I mean, is that
Yes,
that part,
yes.
I can feel it, but it's not affecting my body. And yeah, it's all perfect. Even though sometimes it don't feel perfect at the time. It's like, God damn it,
Yeah,
this kicking my butt. Why do I keep going here? And it's all good.
it is quite an amazing time. It's like it feels like this year could just be like 10 years of change, right?
Oh,
I
truly.
know that's the last year felt like that as well, but
Yes.
it it all did feel like it was ramping up for a lot to shift this year.
Yes, big time.
I'm not sure, maybe I'll say the same next year as well, but
I feel like that's funny. I
there's
was,
a stability with the light. So when you talk about the like the high moments or where you're seeing the visions, it's like the way that I had is those were fleeting, right? And then you get pulled, maybe you get down into the lower energy for a bit. But those islands of light in time and space are now much bigger. So the distance between them is much smaller, whether it's time or space. And so you end up spending less time in the lower densities and more time in the higher densities. And it
yeah,
feels to me like that's getting exponential, and that's the big difference. And I think that's what's going to happen, is happening this year, is like
yes,
that it's like growth, right? Happens like that. It starts pretty slow to begin with, and then it just goes exponential.
absolutely.
And that's really exciting because, yeah, I think we're all a bit exhausted of.
Truly. It's crazy. River's acting to whatever the energy, I can feel it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
bit
but
exhausted.
it's all gonna be all right. We got a bad storm too going on right now.
I do.
Yeah, and I feel because it's high winds, I feel that calm guys. Let me see. I open the door, she's seeing the wind and rain and is like, nope.
We actually have some really nice weather this week. It's cold though. It's like
Yeah.
around freezing in the mornings, and then it gets near 20 degrees. So
Yeah.
it's huge swings, which is sort of it's beautiful. That's like some of my favorite weather. But
Yeah.
it can shock the body a bit. Huh? It shocks the body out of things when you have a big swing in temperature like that for me.
Yeah. I really am getting the feeling that shh, River, calm, thank you. I like they feel the energy.
Interesting.
Yeah. River, calm down. Come on. Go outside. Oh, yeah. It's so black out there, but there's kids playing in the street, running in the rain.
It's interesting the pets. I had a chicken that passed away today.
Oh, I had a
Yeah,
duck
I know.
passed away. Yes.
Yeah, it was so like it was just like this afternoon. They were all fine in the morning, and Bruno went in there to get some eggs, and they were yeah. And we just had one that had been lost for like maybe like 6 months, and he came back maybe a few months ago. So we had three white ones and three black ones, and then one of the first ones we had just passed away.
What color? My duck that was white just passed away
No,
yesterday.
a black one.
Wow.
It's today. I
So,
don't know why. It's a cute little silky one. But
wow.
I've never known why any of the chickens that I've had have passed away.
Yeah.
I was like, how, it's not like you do an autopsy. I don't know how people know that. I'm such an amateur chicken.
Absolutely. I know whatever got my I don't know what it is, but it makes a weird sound through the night, but I could never see it. And but my duck, her whole neck was like ate up, just the neck.
Yeah, no, but there's no like all the chickens that I've probably had like three or four that have passed away in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think three. No, maybe that was the four. I think
Yeah.
that was the third or the fourth because then one came back. But they've all like been like, not there hasn't been a fox or anything. They just sort
Yeah.
of died. So
That's weird that you said fox. Maybe that was a fox that got my Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
that's the obvious one that you think of.
right? It could be whatever it is. It wasn't a cat or a dog. It made a weird sound.
Foxes do make weird sounds. I actually love foxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do too. I can't remember what they sound like though.
They get a bad rep, obviously because they eat chickens and stuff, but they used to hunt them. Like there's a big thing about fox hunting. But when you see a fox, it's such a beautiful animal, like with its red coat and like bushy tail. They're so magical.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. In
yeah,
Bakersfield, we got a lot of foxes. But
yeah.
I remember that a couple years back, they were up here and they were caging for the foxes up here. So, yeah, whatever.
They're just living, aren't they? The foxes. They got to eat.
Truly, truly, exactly, exactly. But I've had ducks that die too, just like what you explained, and there's no evidence of how they died. You know, I've had that too, and I don't know. It always feels like it gave a life for me. So
It's so interestingly, like when you say that, I've always felt that like, oh, there was something. I always felt like they took a hit.
yes, that's
And it's
very
interesting, like, I've got a bit of a cold now, right? And like,
yeah.
I love the chickens. I like really, they're so weird. They're
Or, but
so
they're
weird.
so intelligent. They're way more intelligent than you think they are until you own them. And
But they're like both like really stupid and really smart.
yeah,
Like sometimes like when they're like trying to get into a fence or like, I've
that's
just
true.
showed you which way you came out of, and then you're trying to
Exactly.
get, can't figure out how to get in.
That's true.
But I love like they're beautiful when they're like pecking around and like, yeah,
Absolutely.
all animals are though, aren't they? Like,
They really are.
yeah, it's a pleasure to have around. I love looking at them.
All animals, what I recognize, all animals just keep you in your presence. They don't care. They don't, you know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
just doing their own thing, licking their butt, cleaning their hands. They're just really living in the presence, you know? So,
yeah. It's so nice like to like it's not like even if we don't get a lot of eggs, but like didn't have any eggs the other day and I just got one, they had one egg or and they had no, they didn't have any eggs, but we waited for a little bit because we wanted to make pancakes and we were all a
uh,
bit sick, so we didn't want to go out.
yeah.
The egg came, just one egg. That's all we needed for the pancakes,
Uh,
and then it's like breakfast, a late brunch was made, and you're like, oh, that's such a miracle that these chickens that we look after is like a priceless egg.
truly, truly.
Yeah,
What a gift. What a gift. What a gift.
yeah. So yeah, I was a bit sad about that.
Uh,
Buried in the garden. She's part of the garden now.
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I feel that I'm like they're clearing my energy big time. Like, yeah, the energy is powerful today.
it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good sleep tonight. I think I did
I feel that.
one of the worst night's sleep I had of my life out of my life last night.
Hey, you know what? My son has been listening to these sleep tapes on YouTube, and he got me into this beat. It's a
The
beat.
binaural beats.
Yes.
Yeah, I love
It,
that. I've been doing that for years. Like whenever
um,
I'm sick or I was just, it's
yeah.
amazing.
It made me, I mean, instantly wake up and feel better the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've often done that or listened sometimes if I feel like I need like
The
a bit of a
healing.
boost. I put on like a guided meditation or one
Yeah.
of those before I go to bed and I wake up amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's cool that your son got you into that. That's a nice gift.
Yeah, it is. Because
Yeah.
I would usually listen to something that was like 15 minutes long, but these are like 8 hours.
Yeah, and you're like,
Yeah,
wow, you just get like all
exactly.
this healing. Yeah.
Exactly. And I
I
just
know.
like,
Especially if you put on a decent speaker or something and you just feel like the whole house is just being like
yes, yes,
cleansed, right? And
yes,
it's no work.
absolutely. So I feel, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, if you feel called, do. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I did that last night and I did it when I once I'd fed the chickens and fed Leo. I went back to bed for an hour today because I was feeling so terrible, and I put it on and it really helped me out actually.
I feel like there's a lot of adapting and rearranging and configuring and all these words that I feel that the body needs rest for the change that's happening inside your body.
Yeah,
I feel that.
definitely.
Yeah,
I feel like it's going to be a pretty special spring, though. I can already sort of,
absolutely. Oh my God. Have okay, should I end this because it's getting so long, but I do want to talk, maybe I should talk about it.
yeah.
Talk about the heel because my grandson, I'm a caretaker for my grandkids now. So Clayton is 10 years old and he's more on the extreme labels of autism. So I somebody told me about, I can't even remember, told me about these telepathic tapes of non-speaking autism children.
I think you meant, is there a podcast?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I listened to the, oh, did I listen? Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, what's incredible is I listened, they started season two, and what my grandson has told me is what I'm hearing now in season two. And it's just like crazy because they talk to each other, they help each other work out through stuff when they go to the healed and they can, and this overwhelming, when I ask Clayton about the heel, he changes his facial expression, he starts glowing, and he's got this huge
Did you
smile.
say The Hill?
Yeah, the hill. And it's not, there's many hills.
Yeah.
But one night I was thinking about the hill and Clayton, and I dreamed that night of a bridge. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And I dreamed that I thought I seen him, but I could, it was like energy, not really seeing him physically there, but just
Uh-huh.
energy, you know? So the next morning I went over to Clayton and Clayton goes, I seen you on the bridge, like blew me away. It was the first thing he said to me when he seen me. And I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? This
That's so
stuff is
cool. Well,
so
that's such a
powerful.
privilege, isn't it?
Yeah. And so just listening to him and him tell me stuff, and he said, Nana, if you have like if you have a lot of memories in your life, you're gonna live a long life because you're doing a lot with your life. This I'm adding there. But he said if you have a lot of memories in life, you're gonna live a long life.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I associate it with because I do so much. And he told me, he goes, like his mom and dad don't make memories. Theirs is on a constant. You know what I mean? They're not really making memories. They're kind of on a constant,
Like sort of
doing the same
repeating,
thing.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
wake up, work, like
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely. Where
Int-
me and my grandsons and kids, we are
It's about novelty.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Like, yeah.
absolutely. And he just said it out of just pure innocence that, and it was just so beautiful.
Yeah,
And
like no judgment. It's just an
no
observation.
judgment,
Yeah.
no judgment at all. And it just, but he's showing a difference of how he sees through his eyes. And it's really changing, like, because he's just him and it's so authentic. It's
Yeah.
authentic and it's so gentle. And it's just like, this is just the way it is. Like, yeah. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some beautiful beings in this world.
Yeah,
So
truly,
many different forms of life.
truly. And so they're all here to help each other. He's told
Yeah.
me that um they talk to each other, so they you know they're like a big old family. It's like they
Yeah.
didn't know each other from another life. They're still in life. Like, okay, my grandson, when my duck died, because my grandson was holding the duck, and he
Yeah.
started screaming. He goes, Nana, River's eating the duck. So I opened the
Yeah.
door.
Leo was
And
sad when the chicken died.
yeah, and River, I mean, Clayton, he's got blood all over his hands. He go hide the duck because he don't want the dog to find the duck. And then he comes back, he's laying in the yard, and he looks at me and he goes, I've seen a lot of death on my games, but I've never seen it like that. Like it made it real in his life,
Yeah.
and because in most of his world, he it's just that I can see the change of him when he's like in the time of the heel and when he's in physical life and when he's in the world of the tablet, and
Yeah. You see, I'm so glad. Like
yeah,
Leo has one, but he got it from my dad, and I couldn't get the password working to begin with, so it's just sat in a drawer.
yeah.
And I'm so glad I haven't like he now has just like an old CD player, and all
Oh,
he does is just listens to like because you buy the CDs so cheap now, all the audiobooks. Like
wow.
like all the like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and stuff. That used to be, I remember when I was growing up, if you wanted, if you like 150 pounds or something, to get, or the Harry Potters. Now you can get them for like a quid. People don't, because everyone's got the digital stuff now, so they just get rid of all that.
Right?
And I get them in the charity shops or like on Facebook Marketplace. And it's so good because it doesn't, he's painting this week and he just listens. I remember when I was younger, I used to go to sleep listening to stories,
Yeah.
which is very like, if you think about it, that's so normal. Like our, as like children, human children have been doing that for thousands of years. Like
Yes.
the adults would have been telling stories around the fire, right? And they would have gone to sleep listening to stories.
Yes.
So interesting.
Right.
Um, and like, yeah, I've always loved listening. I like reading, but I like the story, the reading is just a way to get to the story. But
Yeah.
listening to a story for me is so much better.
Oh, audio for me to listen to.
Yeah,
I tune in. It's like I'm really living that life. I can see different versions of it. It's just,
yeah.
yeah.
And you can be like
Yes.
in the garden or like I used to
That's
listen
what
to
I
the
love.
birds
I love
drumming.
doing something. I love to do something,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. Being out in nature is even different than being in the house.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or in the car, you're like, oh, suddenly
Yes.
it's like you can listen. You got a long drive, you can listen to a book, right? It's amazing. I love stories.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I noticed that and I'm like, I'm not even going to try and because Leo's been working his speech, and at one point we're like, our iPad's really going to help him with the words,
Yeah.
and it probably would, but then you end up doing other things and like. So now we've never had TVs. We just have a projector. Like today, we watch TV all day.
Yeah.
But that's really rare for us, and we're sick, and it's actually then you don't feel guilty about it.
No.
Um, and we watched like two films. He loves just watching. He doesn't even want to watch movies anymore. He likes watching uh like old tractors or like tree houses. Like he likes watching them build stuff, which feels like again that's like so good. Like
Yeah.
watching people like like build old like cabins in the forest or things like that, or like build he calls them bus homes.
Oh, I
That's
love
what he likes
that.
to do, and I like that as well. And it's
I
like
like that.
because then I can be present as well with him watching it. If it's
Absolutely.
some cartoon, it's just like, oh fuck, that's just giving me a headache. And then you can't be there with them, or at least
Yeah.
I can't anyway. I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of good. And we watched a few about gardens this weekend as well. And homes, yeah, kind of fun. And just on YouTube, it's amazing what you can, or on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun though. Because again, it's like novelty. Like you were saying, like
Yeah.
and he said he sees all these houses, and he's like, "Oh yeah, That's my home. That's my home. That's my home. All the houses that he wants."
Right. I
But
know.
like, they're so different because they always choose like the most innovative, like creative. People have. One guy built one in today we watched in it was like an old bomb shelter
Uh-huh.
in Germany somewhere, like 2 meter thick walls. So like really like what you could imagine would be the worst house possible, right? But he built a house on the roof, turned the whole thing into gardens, but then kept the bottom exactly like it was so people could learn like, this is what war sort of is like. And he was an artist, so like then he had built like a concert hall in the bomb studio. And you're just like, what an inspiring person. Like he like tr really beautiful alchemy,
Yeah.
just turns like a horrible space into something like you loved it.
Beautiful.
And then there's that, and then the contrast of that to something like some really remote cabin like on the woods somewhere, which is it's kind of cool to see. It's
Yeah.
nice to go and see this stuff in the flesh, but it's also amazing what you can be inspired to be like, oh, I'd like to go and see something like that. Or it's kind of like looking at the restaurant menu, isn't it, without trying everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you're saying this, it was remind me of how the kids remote view. They can go into anybody's head. They can
Yeah,
hear through their ears and see through their eyes. So they're experiencing it. Just
it
not them.
it also reminds me like it's not all black and white.
No.
It's not like just to say like, oh, games are bad
Yeah.
or the screens are bad. It's like it's there's so much nuance to it, and it's
Yeah.
just about getting the right balance, isn't it?
It truly is all a balance because I don't think anything's bad. Why would we have it here if we're not to
Yeah,
experience it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
Like I remember, I used to like I went to a stage of playing those like fighting games,
well,
Call of Duty,
yeah.
and it was so fun, right? So addictive. And I was
They're
like,
they're violent.
yeah,
I don't.
so
I
like you
never have
don't, you
gotten
just like
any. I never got into
just you
any of
sort of
that.
like, oh, I'm just killing people, right? But like, what does that do to the subconscious? And I remember I had a friend who then he joined the army who loved playing it, and you're like, well, that's probably what they were there for, right? To go and get
I
people
feel
to,
that. I feel that it was a way to train them without them really being trained. They're
yeah,
probably better at it because of the way they are trained,
yeah.
you know?
And then in the greater sense, it's like, well, you gotta have those sort of lifetimes to realize that, oh, maybe we don't want that sort of stuff going forward. And maybe it's better to have a game like where you build a tree house
Houses, yeah,
or convert a bus, right? Or like
yeah,
learn how to, like I remember one of the other games maybe with The Sims.
yeah.
And do you remember The Sims? Did you ever, that was like,
You know what? I've never been into games.
yeah.
Seen stuff like that through my grandkids and my son, but
But it
yeah,
was a bit, I mean, because you're a little bit older than me, not much,
yeah.
but
Oh,
um
you're such a sweetheart.
it was yeah, like I was sort of like kind of at the start of that, where it was really accessible and the games were actually a bit more it wasn't just like Pac-Man or,
Yeah,
ping pong. So
yeah,
I guess I was like kind of in the first when the first sort of cohort when it was like immersive, right? And you can have like growing up like proper games. So it's interesting.
yeah. The what this is what I recognize because when they started games with mine, it was like the ping pong, the ball and a line, and with the circle and a line, they were creating so much with games. And
Yeah,
then now everything, because my son was like, you gotta see this new graphics card, and it looks real, like you're watching
yeah,
in real time. It's making it
yeah,
more real. And but the excitement I can feel of him, that they're making it realer.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like when we were talking about like pulling back, like I used to be so into all like the latest technology. And in some sense I am, like I'm fascinated in a few strands of it, but other things like I've never even tried a VR headset. And if
Yeah.
you had told me like that, I would just be like, that's mad. Why haven't you tried one? But I'm just like, actually, I know I will at some point, probably when they're
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Be-
but
My
yeah, I just
my grandkids, that's all they do is the VR. And I got on there one day, it was so real, it gave me motion sickness. Everything's moving so quickly. So
have you ever seen that film Player One?
no, no, I don't think
Quite
I.
an interesting film. It's like where it's sort of dystopian reality where, the world gets so bad, but they sort of escape into
Oh, oh, I think I did see it. Where
yeah, it's
the
quite a good
buildings
film.
got blown open. Did he? I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
it was quite interesting.
yeah,
But so that's part of what I'm interested in creating is something that, has the excitement of that sort of appeal of that, but brings us more into the real world.
and
That's why like the augmented stuff feels way more exciting to me actually,
yeah,
in the most part.
wow,
You know what I mean? Like when you're describing the dreams where you can see stuff over the top, like
yeah,
it would be, I like the idea of like, oh, if you could go and see a plant and you could then get information about that plant. It's like, oh, this is this is how the
wow,
medicines that you could use it for, or the recipes, or the building materials, and this is how you do it.
yeah,
Or, you go for a walk or something and it tells you like, oh, look out for these birds or listen to these birds or something at this time of year. I, I,
yeah,
I think it's going to be a bit like I love salt, right?
yeah. Me too. I'm a salt.
Salt's delicious on your food. It brings out the flavor
Yeah,
until you have too much, right?
yes,
And then then it's horrible. So like
absolutely.
I think we're going to learn to use it a little bit like salt rather than
Yeah,
I don't
I keep
know,
getting
mayonnaise.
overwhelming the message that keeps coming forward, and it feels like it's like dumping into me. Is that there's no blur between the lines? Then like it even takes my breath away. Even to
There's no blur.
between the lines.
For kids.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's then just like where you're standing, because if you can't see the lines, you want to be grounded. Where do you want to be grounded?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
to me, it's going to feel like, well, this reality that we live in, the one with nature and magic of nature,
Absolutely.
that we've been growing for like thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Whereas this other one's super new, so it doesn't have the roots. So when the storm comes, it's like, well, do you want to be under the young, tall tree that's growing really fast,
Yeah.
or like the old fat tree that, maybe isn't as tall, but it's got
Has the
really
strength.
deep roots and it's really strong. Yeah,
Get me that fat tree. I'll lay under that baby.
yeah,
Hang
yeah.
on. Oh, yeah. It feels like that.
Interesting. Good chat.
Absolutely. So, anyway, we know I'm just trusting this process of everything
Yeah,
we
me
brought
too.
forward. And so I send love to all who tapped in with us. And thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being a part of this journey. This was
Yeah,
just not a
good
conversation between us. It felt like there was a group of us. How beautiful.
chat. Nice.
Absolutely. I send love.